So let me tell you a little story about a business owner who waited too long to begin thinking about his taxes. And by the time that he called me and came into contact with me, it was too late and he had no time for planning, and he ended up paying over $20,000 in taxes, which for his size of business was pretty shameful that that had to happen. That's the price of procrastination. And today what I'm going to talk about is why you should not be waiting until April to begin planning for your taxes and begin thinking about your taxes in your business. So when I met this person, he was a very successful business owner on paper, strong revenue coming in, had all the fancy things that you look for from a online entrepreneur. But behind the scenes, he was stressing because he knew that he was going to have a huge tax bill come the end of the year, because he was making all this money with a huge profit and no sort of tax planning in place. He had random expenses and, his accounts were never reconciled. And every year he just pushed it off until the last second, not worrying about taxes until they were actually due. So, causing stress, confusion, and just delaying the inevitable. He would tell himself, oh, I'll get to it eventually, but that eventually turned out to be a big tax mistake and a big tax bill. He was making all of this money just to give it back to the IRS. I'm Harrison. I'm a tax advisor. I run my own accounting firm, and I help business owners just like you to save money on taxes and to plan strategically throughout the year to lower their tax bill and to grow their wealth long term. I help entrepreneurs avoid paying the IRS more than they actually owe. And one of the things that I can tell you is that procrastination is one of the biggest killers of businesses, because it delays planning and it delays the inevitable huge tax bill that you're going to face as your business grows. So today we're going to get into the things that I noticed in his business that you could look into your business and make sure that you're taking advantage of these deductions and not missing out on the extra expenses that could lower your tax bill. So the first mistake that I noticed with him and his business when I was looking into his financials was the missed deductions. So what I mean by this is he would never track his business mileage. He worked from home but didn't take advantage of the home office deduction. And he also didn't work on turning any of his personal expenses into business expenses, even though he was constantly making phone calls to clients on his phone. He was constantly using his internet to run his business from home. And he was also buying all of this equipment for his business, but not keeping tabs on how much of it could be depreciated in that year. So just from these small things that add up, that's thousands of dollars in missed savings just from poor planning and poor tracking of your expenses. So here's the second mistake that I noticed from this one business owner, and that's that he had no year-end planning. So we discovered after looking at his financials that he could have made, had he talked to me earlier or done any sort of independent planning, he could have made retirement account contributions that could have significantly wiped out his entire tax bill just from those alone. But because he waited so late, all we were doing was damage control and just trying to put out the fire rather than able to take advantage of what the tax code offers us to do as business owners. Mistake number 3 that I saw from this client was waiting too long to begin to look into his entity structuring. So he was still operating as a single member LLC, even though he was making well above the threshold of income that I would look to make the S Corp election. So he could have saved another $8,000 had he made the S Corp election just from the self-employment taxes that he owed alone. And this is a huge tax issue that I hate to see clients suffering through, because it's such a simple fix. But once again, if you procrastinate, you put it off, and you don't plan for your taxes, it can just come down hard on you. And so after looking at these 3 major mistakes, and there was, a few other smaller ones that I would have liked, but these 3 ones are very easy to capitalize on. We noticed that there was over $20,000 in tax savings just from these 3 simple things that he could have taken advantage of and completely wiped out his tax bill. This money could have been reinvested to grow his business, grow his long-term wealth, or even into his family, and also wiping out his tax bill in the process. So what's the lesson that I want you to get from this video and from this training that we're having? And so that lesson is, don't wait. Be proactive. Don't be reactive with your planning. Start planning now while you still can make contributions to retirements and still find extra business expenses for your business. The earlier that you get your books in order and start planning with a realistic plan for your business and where you're at personally, the more savings that you will have. Think of tax savings like compound interest. The earlier that you start, the larger magnitude that they'll have of an effect on your business. It isn't something that you begin to think about 2 weeks before April 15th. This is something that you need to be thinking about now in the prior year to see what you can be doing, begin planning and taking action to lower your taxable income. So if you're staring at your numbers and you're thinking, man, I do not know what to do, this is your sign to start taking action now and find a tax advisor to help you lower your taxable income and begin the planning process and begin taking action proactively to lower your tax bill. So if you're confused on where to start, you can click the link down below in the description and you can schedule a call with me to see how I can help you become the hero of your own journey and lower your taxable income. Let's get the strategy in place now before it's too late. And if this story hit home for you and feels like something that you relate to, be sure to hit subscribe. I have more tax content and advice on how to lower your taxable income and other wealth growing strategies that you can use in your life coming soon on this channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, never stop your relentless pursuit of continuous improvement. I'll look forward to us talking again soon.